7 long years ago, we laid down a list of what we said were the best fight scenes ever filmed. But today, in 2021, we feel like they're due for a refresh, so we're taking another stab. These are our new picks for the 10 best fight scenes of all time. Back in 2014, we took a look at boxing scenes and declared Raging Bull the all-time winner, and that wasn't such a bad choice. No one's ever dared to shoot the sweet science quite like Marty, but in retrospect, we think that decision was more based on the cinema of it than the fighting itself. So how would we rewrite the record? Obviously, Rocky is the classic cinematic boxer with his Ivan Drago bouts, and especially the Creed rematch as highlights. Daniel Day-Lewis put on a pretty impressive turn in The Boxer, as did Jake Gyllenhaal recently in Southpaw. Taking off the gloves and going bare knuckle, we like the bout in Snatch, as well as the particularly badass prison match that serves as the climax of Undisputed 2. Swap Your Ring for an Octagon, and Warrior has an amazing and punishing finale. However, our first pick here keeps the gloves on and does it all in one take. This one's from the reboot of the Rocky franchise. It's Adonis versus Leo in Creed. Actually captured in camera in one single unbroken take after 11 tries following a week of rehearsals and many boxing lessons for all involved, Creed's central piece of filmmaking dazzlery has just about as much swagger as its young hero within it, winning his first fight with Rocky as his new coach. And it really adds up to a wonderfully effective piece of cinema. The choreography is tack sharp with contact that feels unusually real and snappy, but the coolest part about it is how it keeps dragging on and on. You begin to feel the exhausting ceaselessness of a boxing round. And when the bell rings and we head back to the corner and we're still in that same shot, it made us think, oh god, how long can this brutality go on? By including us as part of the choreography via the camera, it put us inside the experience of the match, which is why it's one of the rare fight scenes in a combat movie that's far better than its climax.
Why would you say you had ass like that though?
Of course, if we're going to honor hand-to-hand boxing, we can't forget to look at the best bare-handed duels in the martial arts. In our last go-round, we gave a slot to the Matrix subway fight scene, which is a blast thanks in no small part to choreographer Yuen Woo-ping, starting the trend of Hong Kong legends choreographing fights in American blockbusters. But in hindsight, we want to go back to the source, and that means foreign films. Now that could be taking it way back to the Shaw brothers. We're pretty fond of LAUKAHLEUNG's Martial Club, especially the alleyway fight that gets narrower and narrower as it goes on, or it could be super recent, like Iko Uwai's final showdown in The Night Comes for Us. Flashpoint's Piece de Resistance was one of the first masterpieces of fight choreography to include the then new element of mixed martial arts, and is surely one of the all-time greats. But for us, we just don't think it's possible to top the showdown between Jackie Chan and Benny the Jet Urquidez in Wheels on Meals. Choreographed and action directed by Hong Kong's big brother, legend Sammo Hung, seen here providing his trademark flavor of comic relief, Jackie's usual sense of playfulness takes a back seat here to what begins to feel like a very real and very dangerous showdown. It's interesting to see his character, so often skating by on his physical ingenuity, getting shut down by someone so much faster than the usual goon and having to adjust to that. And there's no doubt that his opponent here was talented. Benny was a real karate champion who had a role in popularizing full contact fighting in the United States, which should make it no surprise that there were on-set rumors that the two may have gotten a little more physical with each other than was the norm, but it was apparently all smiles in the end as they put on one of the greatest fights ever in the can.
For another round, I'll kick your ass. Oh, no, don't let go.
From there, if you throw a little blade or two into the mix, you end up with our number 8 slot, looking at knife fights. Obviously, Commando is the classic here, but we prefer Benicio del Toro versus Tommy Lee Jones in The Hunted. Kill Bill's got a great one, and John Wick has a couple, one in a subway and another hilarious one in a freaking knife store. Upgrade uses its camera brilliantly in an amazing battle that pits a kitchen knife versus a super intelligent AI to predictable results, and The Man from Nowhere has an excruciatingly brutal final fight that makes getting stabbed look like not a lot of fun after all. And we can think of only two that could possibly top it. One is the finale of The Raid 2, which is just an all-out insanity fest, and the other is the same one we picked last time. Killzone SPL is just about the best there ever was. Loosely outlined in advance by choreographer Donnie Yen, as legend has it, the scene was largely improvised between Yin and Wu Jing, as the two apparently competed for who could make contact with the other. Looking back, we're no longer quite sure how much of that is true and how much of it is myth, but it honestly doesn't matter much to us. The scene is so damn good, it doesn't matter whether it was Miles Davis or Mozart, it's a goddamn masterpiece. Seriously, the first time we laid eyes on this fight, our jaws genuinely dropped, and that is not a turn of phrase. Their blistering speed gives way to an escalating series of slick moves, gambits, and counter gambits, the shifting tides of the fight marked by their progress up and back down the alleyway, ending in a brutal coup de grace. And while we know some will be disappointed we've yet again passed over Flashpoint as our Donnie Yen pick, 7 years later, we still aren't sorry. Don't add us, Chapeau Long is just that much fiercer. After knives, it's only fair we look at weapons of all shapes and sizes, as in the great battles from Captain Blood, The Deluge, The Adventures of Robin Hood, Rob Roy, and The Princess Bride, or sword fights like in Fearless, The 13 Assassins, and Ip Man. And the weapons just get more exotic from there. Spears in Troy, melee guns in Equilibrium, the 3-section staff in the 36th Chamber of Shaolin, friggin' double-sided lightsabers in The Phantom Menace, and a bajillion different combinations in both the legendary weapons of China and the insane finale from The Final Master. But just like our last pick, we're sticking with our 2014 instincts. It's the Green Destiny Sword versus an entire Training Grounds armory in Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. In the time since we first dubbed this scene one of the best fights of all time, our estimation of it has only continued to grow, and we have talked about it on this channel probably way too much. Not only is it a masterpiece of choreography, acting, music, it's also a genius piece of writing and storytelling and character work, all communicated exclusively through combat. Jin Yu is a young, headstrong woman with a weapon of otherworldly power whose raw strength slices through everything that opposes it until, eventually, this is exactly her own undoing. With hardly a lick of dialogue, it's a metaphor built into the story of the fight, woven into every movement and strike. It's the fight scene elevated to the level of art. So far, we've mostly seen a lot of one-on-ones in a bunch of different varieties, but there's a whole world of fight scenes far more crowded than that. But to start out, let's just look at two-on-ones. Here, amongst our favorites, you find Jackie against a pair of legs and a pair of arms on the roof of Who Am I?, Jet Li versus some twins in Kiss the Dragon, Keanu directing an awesome one in The Man of Tai Chi, and there's nobody out there doing them quite like Iko Uwais, who has excellent iterations across Marin Tao, The Night Comes for Us, The Raid 2, and our number 6 pick, The Ultimate Showdown with Mad Dog in The Raid. After an hour and a half of intensely grimy, bloody, bone-breaking, non-stop fight scenes in The Raid, Uwais and Evans figured the best way to cleanse everyone's palate was with 7 more minutes of straight-up even gnarlier carnage, with brothers Rama and Andy teaming up for the first time to fight a man who truly lives up to his nickname. The Raid took the entire world by storm. It was something unlike anything action movie fans had ever seen before, and this fight was its clear capstone. The choreography is so kinetic, we wish we had a better word than kinetic. By its end, the scene teeters on the edge of horror movie levels of gore and pain. But, gosh darn if it didn't properly convince us never to storm an apartment block owned by a crime lord and his inhumanly pain-tolerant martial arts master lieutenants just to invite an estranged family member to next year's Thanksgiving. Fight scenes where a single fighter takes on a veritable army of red shirts and gives them all a good old-fashioned beat-em-up. In this category, you find Captain America, too lazy to take the stairs, a massive street brawl in the City of Violence, an onstage mobbing in Once Upon a Time in China, the Rain Woman of Kung Fu taking on an entire dojo in Chocolate, an opportunity to witness it in first-person perspective in The Villainous, a chaotic, long-take adventure through a multi-story restaurant in The Protector, and who could forget the hallway hammer time from Oldboy, or Ip Man laying the beatdown on 10 black belts at once. Last time out, we awarded big group battles from Ong Bak's finale, Kill Bill's Crazy 88 Slaughter. But on second look, frankly, we think they're ever so slightly edged out by Chen Zhen battling an entire dojo in a tie between both Fist of Fury and Fist of Legend. It is simply impossible for us to choose between Bruce Lee's original and Jet Li's remake, because they're both so incredible in their own ways, both engaging with the same revenge story material and set pieces, showing off how Hong Kong martial arts cinema had changed in 2 decades. Fist of Legend's camera work tends to be closer and plays more across cuts, while Fist of Fury's choreography operates in an older, more staccato rhythm, harkening back to the style of samurai duels pioneered in Japan. Yuen Woo-ping's choreography in the newer version draws on 20 years of Hong Kong action cinema, finding fun in playing opponents off each other and interacting with the environment. While back in Bruce Lee's heyday, big fights operated more as a rapid-fire series of consecutive one-on-ones, mostly because that was still novel to audience members and filmmakers alike. But whatever style you prefer, it's hard to deny that both are exceptional displays of speed and finesse from 2 of cinema's greatest martial artists at the peak of their prowess. Some people criticize fight scenes that utilize so-called wire fu as silly and unrealistic. In our humble opinions, most fight scenes are pretty silly if you look at them too hard, wires or no, but we love them anyways. So we say, bring on the power of flight. Found most often in wuxia narratives, some of our favorites include the blind fight in the bamboo forest from House of Flying Daggers, a battle of balance from atop the flaming fence posts in Iron Monkey, way over the top in Swordsman 2, in an unbelievably badass grand finale in Tai Chi Master, and understatedly and with a broken leg against Donnie Yen in Once Upon a Time in China 2. Last time around, we gave this category's crown to a different fight between those 2 martial artists, a rain battle in their minds in Hero, and almost a decade on, we're re-anointing it. In our opinions, that one has more than stood the test of time. There is no better use for the fantasy-like quality of wuxia's wire work than in the story of Hero, itself a movie about the telling and retelling of battles past, exaggerated, misconstrued, and even imagined. The unbelievable acrobatics suddenly make so much more sense in the context of legend and myth. They are fight poetry rather than fight prose, and there's no legend within Hero better for that than the battle that took place entirely within the minds of these 2 great warriors, standing frozen in the rain while performing literal mental gymnastics before rushing to the same predetermined conclusion of a single blow they had both mentally reached on their own. It's a gorgeous set piece, beautifully photographed with stunning moments of violent explosion juxtaposed against meditative stillness. It's an imagination within a lie within a myth, and we can't imagine a better one. Now, if you did find yourself rolling your eyes through the supernatural theatrics of our last category, fear not. We're also setting aside a slot for fights that hew more towards gritty realism than snappy choreography and sky-high acrobatics. Here, back in the old school, you find Charles Bronson in a drag-out cage match in Hard Times. More recently, you've got an astonishing achievement in one devastating take from Atomic Blonde, an attack in Eastern Promises that combines blood with full frontal nudity in a way that's fun for the whole family. Our last go at this list, we lauded the Morocco fight from the Bourne Ultimatum, and it's still damn good. But upon reevaluation, and for the raw believability of it, we think the scrap to the death between Ryan Mellish and an SS soldier in Saving Private Ryan takes this particular cake.
Ah!
In a list full of beautiful choreography designed to delight in the joys of action, this scene could not be more different. Ugly, messy, and sloppy, clawing and biting and screaming in desperation. Where our other picks lionize human achievement, this fight showcases the ugliness of human violence and the frailty of its mortal coil. And that's just taken on its own. Throw in the devastating Upham subplot, the man too afraid to come to the rescue despite every opportunity and pleaded invitation to do so, and you have the makings of one of the most heart-wrenching fight scenes ever filmed, as devastating emotionally as it is physically. Just like the Utah beach landing that begins the film, this scene is designed as nothing more than an indictment of war, and it is a testament to its immeasurable quality that it is so utterly unpleasant to watch. After 8 slots of fight scenes that land somewhere on the seriousness scale between utterly badass and more sobering than a 60-minute special on a humanitarian tragedy, we need to take a moment to revel in those fight scenes that prioritize fun and humor over bone-crunching impact. We love the fights of Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, specifically the one where Ramona literally puppets Scott, Pirates of the Caribbean, especially the first duel between Will and Captain Jack, and oh lord, how we love Kung Fu Hustle, notably the early battle between the Axe Gang and the neighborhood's 3 masters. Sammo Hung of Wheels on Meals fame is also one of our favorite comedy action choreographers, and we adore his slapstick work with Twinkle Twinkle Lucky Stars, Knockabout, and The Pedicab Driver. But it's his longtime collaborator Jackie Chan who is always going to be the star of the show here at number 2. In the Project A, Rumble in the Bronx, and such greats as Police Story, Operation Condor, and our favorite yet again, Legend of the Drunken Master. The culmination of a massive factory sequence that sees Jackie wading through hostiles for almost 15 minutes, his final encounter with actual Taekwondo champion Ken Lo is the magnum opus of a career spent refining the intersection of action and comedy. Directed and choreographed by Jackie himself, we get a little bit of all the things that make him the greatest. Blistering speed, a battle of different styles, death-defying stunt work they actually did for real, whip-smart prop use, in-the-moment ingenuity, serious ferocity, and jokes delivered entirely in the form of kicks and punches. Jackie's alcoholic Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde drunken boxing style is the perfect excuse to craft a sequence of movements that is as silly as it is lethal as it is brilliant, which is why we just keep coming back to it. Back when we made our original list, we reserved our number 1 slot for the one and only Bruce Lee. Now, in our sequel, we've already found him some space earlier up in the list, so we're gonna go ahead and change absolutely nothing because goddammit, the man deserves 2. And we love them all. Both his nunchuck duel and his fight with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in Game of Death, his bout with Chuck Norris in Way of the Dragon, the Ice Factory fight in The Big Boss. But last time around, we said Enter the Dragon's Basement Dungeon Masterclass was the number 1 best fight scene ever put to film, and we're standing by it. And the damn thing speaks for itself. Take it away, Bruce. Play us out. So what do you think? Disagree with any of our picks? Did we leave out any of your favorite fight scenes? Again, let us know in the comments below and we'll fix it in another 7 or 8 years. And be sure to subscribe to IGN Movies and TV for more CineFix movie lists.